All right, I'm just getting my setup all ready. Thank you for joining, Jennifer. It'll just be a second while I get all my technology set up here. Okay. All right, so thank you very much for joining the webinar. I am going to go ahead and get started. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the live or drop them in the chat box, and I will answer all the questions that I can. If I don't know an answer off the top of my head, I promise I will look it up and get back to you. So let me, there we go. All right. So welcome to how the top 1% of ACT students use these 3 little known strategies to slay their test, and why spending thousands of dollars on tutoring or hours and hours of practice doesn't always work. So I want to start off by talking about the current state of things and what is going on in our crazy world right now. So plans for fall 2020 are changing daily. I literally got an email today about my kids' school and how it's changing. And college admissions for the class of 2021 all over the place, right? So things are, and they might still change, right? Like that, my son had an ACT scheduled in July, and we found out it was canceled 2 days before he was supposed to take it. So let me fill you in on a couple of things that you have probably heard a little bit about. So some colleges are talking about being test optional for the incoming, well, our senior in high school. So the class of 2021. Test blind colleges do not look at the ACT or SAT. Like if you send the scores, they literally test blind. They don't look at the scores. Okay. Test optional means that a score is not required to get in, but if you send a score, they will look at it. Okay. And that's what a lot of colleges are doing. So if you have a senior, what I recommend doing is looking at the colleges that they're thinking about applying and looking to see whether they're test blind, which who cares then? You don't even worry about it. Or if they're test optional. And if they're test optional, you're still probably better off taking the test simply because it could help distinguish you from other kids that are applying. And some schools where it's test optional, you still need the score for merit scholarships. So state universities and even some of the private universities rely heavily on the academic statistics of test score, SAT or ACT, and grade point averages, and sometimes class rank to determine merit awards. So if you're not sure, I would err on the side of taking it. Now, that said, registering for it is a whole nother nightmare. ACT was supposed to open registration this week. They decided to do a new website at the same time that they were opening registration, and it was a cluster. I'll edit myself. It was a cluster. So what they're doing is they went back to the drawing board, and they're supposed to go live again on Monday, August 3rd at 10 a.m. Central Time. Okay. So like I was saying from these couple previous slides, your son or daughter's, that's what I should say, ACT score can still help with admissions and scholarships. So my goal in the next half hour is that I want to show you that preparing for the ACT is more than just practice problems. So if you are a stressed out mom or dad of a junior or senior, if you're feeling like your child's a little behind in school because of how everything shut down in March, if you're looking for a guide of what to do and where you look on this path to get to college, and maybe you were already overwhelmed about test scores before COVID, and now COVID craziness has happened, and now you're even more concerned. So I'm here to talk about how preparing for the ACT fills two needs with one deed. Basically, you can review content from school and prepare for the test, which can get you admission into schools and lots of scholarship money. So what can we do? So I understand your frustration for more than one reason. My name is Tina Wiles, and I am the mother of 4 sons. I live in Naperville, Illinois, and my oldest is a senior in high school. So I know firsthand what it was like with all the craziness of the testing. And unfortunately, my son even had a medical issue thrown in and was diagnosed with a medical condition in the end of November. And so it threw his testing off for the entire year. He was supposed to take the ACT starting in October, and he never got to take it as a junior. So I understand from the parent point of view. I also have a sophomore, an 8th grader, and a 5th grader. A little bit about me. I attended the University of Michigan and majored in industrial engineering. I did work for Motorola for 9 years manufacturing cell phones, like ancient pre-Razr flip phones. And as I left engineering to be with my family more, I had a crazy commute. I stumbled into tutoring, and I've been tutoring for ACT and SAT for 14 years now. I did go back to Benedictine University 7 years ago and got certified to be a high school math teacher. I worked inner city Chicago for 2 years and completely burnt myself out. And then my tutor was born. So I now am the founder of My Tutor, where I do test prep and some subject tutoring. Absolutely love my job. So a little bit about my aha and how I got here to this webinar is when I was starting My Tutor, I happened to read You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Amazing book. But at the time I was only doing private tutoring. And when I read You Are a Badass, it inspired me to look beyond private tutoring and maybe combine what I'd done with teaching, like light bulb moment. So I started doing small groups. And I love working with small groups, and I still do small groups here at my office in Naperville. but I was really limited with how many students I could work with, and I wanted to be able to help more kids. So, hence online, right? So, online, I'm able to help more students and have helped students from coast to coast across the country. And I've even helped students in Dubai and Singapore. So, I know for some people, remote learning did not work so well. This is a completely different approach because it's live all the time. Okay. Um, so my ACT result from working with over 500 students, so these are the only students that I had like pre and post scores for, but my average increase for students is 4 points. So they've gone from a 23 to a 27. And then you can just see it's 5 points in English, 3 points in math, 4 points in reading, and 4 points in science. So I have found what works for a lot of students of all ability levels. So here's a testimonial from one of my students who scored a 36 and was shocked, right? Like, is this right? This was the first time she had taken it, like right out of the gate. It was September of her senior or her junior year. Took it and got a 36. Oh my God, yes, it's right. Okay, so now I want to show you those 3 things that I was talking about for the webinar. So element 1 is how your son or daughter can review what they should know from school. Element 2 is why they do not need to remember every math formula and every grammar rule they've ever learned. And then 3 is all about the outlook, okay? And it's these 3 things that the top scorers do and do well, okay? So the element 1 is content, okay? And with the craziness that happened at the end of 2019, 2020, we do not want to, we want to make sure our kids don't fall behind and maybe to feel like they didn't have the best education those last few months. And so why content is so important is that it's easy to forget, especially over the summer, but especially given what's going on. But we need to make sure that our kids understand the content that's on the test. So let me show you an example. So here's an algebra problem, an algebra 2 problem actually that has appeared on the ACT. So there are strategies that you can learn how to approach it, but this is something that everyone should know from algebra 2, but chances are they probably don't remember exactly how to approach it, or they'll look at it and be like, it looks familiar, but I'm not really sure. So going through and reviewing content is essential to seeing the score increase. Here's another example from the grammar section. So the semicolon is probably my favorite thing in the grammar section because I can't tell you how many times I've actually heard students say, I've never even learned how to use a semicolon. And I want to say, there's probably been like 10 teachers that have told you what a semicolon is, but for some reason it doesn't stick. So when they learn that all a semicolon is a fancy period, you literally can replace a semicolon with a period. And there's probably 5 questions on the ACT grammar section that have semicolons in them. All of a sudden, those 5 questions are so easy because a semicolon is literally the same thing as a period. So the first element is content, and top scorers make sure that they review the content that appears on the test. And for both math and English sections, content is really important. For the reading section, it's really more strategy, right? It's the content changes from passage to passage. And for science, out of all 40 questions, there's only 1 to 3 questions that require science knowledge. Okay, so reviewing, I touch base, like there's a couple of things like pH for chemistry, or like the difference between a plant and animal cell for biology. Like some topics tend to appear pretty frequently, but it's not like studying science textbook is going to really help for the science section of the test. Okay, element 2 is about strategies. So some students are just born knowing how to do a standardized test, okay? The majority of students are not, and they actually need to learn how to take a test. Okay. And once they learn how to approach the test, a lot of the anxiety goes away, and they know they have a game plan for the whole thing. So basically, we want to work smarter. So knowing every comma rule and memorizing every math formula is not necessarily going to get you higher scores. Okay. So using a strategy can give a starting point, and there are strategies that you can use for each section. And honestly, there's a ton of free videos that you could go look at strategies. If your son or daughter is on TikTok, they can follow me on TikTok at my tutor on TikTok. And I give strategies and examples all the time. Let me go through one here for the English section. The English section, the strategy I talk about is petite. So keeping things short and simple. And how that applies with this is when delete is an option, it's the right answer 80% of the time. Let me repeat that. When delete is an option, it's the right answer 80% of the time. Okay. And it's because you just take the wordiness out. They want everything to be concise. So I just use the word petite. So I actually have P words for every section: petite, plug, predict, and point. And the P words I actually came up with, I call them the 4 Ps, came up with these when I was teaching in inner city Chicago, and wanted to come up with a way for people to remember really easily how to approach parts of the test when they were feeling overwhelmed. So learning strategies can really help. Okay. And it's because it's so much more reliable of having like a backup plan than trying to remember every comma rule you've ever learned. All right. And the last part of how those top scorers do so amazing is mindset. Okay. They not only have a grasp of content and know what strategies to use, but they have the mindset that they are going to do amazing. Okay. And I think this is one thing that sets what I teach apart from what other people might do, because I think mindset is such a huge part. For those of you that are athletes, you already know this, right? Like I have a picture of Michael Phelps up here. Michael Phelps is a huge believer in visualization. Okay. And I read this amazing article on Michael Phelps. I am a little biased because he went to University of Michigan, but this article about Michael Phelps is that he visualizes everything that can go wrong during a race. So he was actually in a race once and his goggles came off, and the man did not miss a beat because he had visualized what he would do if his goggles came off. Like it didn't throw him off at all. Okay. So we talk about visualization and like believing in yourself and trusting your gut and not changing your answers, right? So we go through all that. Another thing is a lot of students have anxiety. So one really easy thing that you could do is called the starfish meditation. And you can see here on the screen what a starfish meditation is you actually put out your hand, like spread all 5 fingers, and then you use a finger and you slowly trace around your hand and you focus on the tickle feeling. Okay. And you can breathe in as you go up and breathe out as you go down your finger. Okay. And you can do this before the exam. You can do it between sections of the exam. And I would do it more quickly during the exam because time is of the essence. But you could also, if you're really stressed out, do it quickly during the exam. Okay. It's more important that you are focused on what's going on. So we talk about different mindfulness activities that can help. Okay. I think all these make a difference because confidence is so important. Scoring a 36 on a practice test is totally different than getting those scores on the actual exam. And I want to make sure that when a student walks into the exam, they're getting the scores that they've gotten on those practice tests. So hours and hours of practice won't do anything if they don't believe they're actually going to do better. Okay, so there's a lot more to getting those 4-point increases than just knowing the strategies, petite, plug, predict, and point. So what I'm going to do now is go in and introduce an online program that I have. So this is your out. If you have no interest in like extra help or want to know what I do, please feel free to leave. If you'd like to stick around and hear about what the online program is, I would love to tell you about it. So it is called Slay the ACT. And Slay the ACT will help your child's confidence and test scores increase while helping anxiety and decrease. So what it is I do live 60-minute lessons. So we'll meet for the 6 weeks leading up to the September ACT test dates. All lessons are taught by me. Questions are welcomed. In the lessons is where we cover the content, the strategies, and the mindset. So that's where the meat of the program is in these live lessons. The live lessons are going to be on Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So if they can't make that time, the lessons are recorded so they can watch and they can ask me. I'm always available for questions. So what the Slay the ACT does is we have the structure, so the set schedule, and we have certain things that we cover at certain times to help those scores increase. There's accountability because I'm checking in multiple times a week to see how your child is doing, and then learning. So I review material that they should know, and I actually teach material that they might have forgotten about or haven't been exposed to yet. So unlike other programs that have a general teacher and a book that they work out of, Slay the ACT is an easy, engaging, and focused program created and taught by a perfect scorer. That would be me, score perfect, test expert, been doing this for 14 years, and a mother of 4 sons. So here is a comment from one of my students. I tried using the strategies for things I didn't know. Plugging back in really works. It really felt like what I'm doing with the things I did not know, but now it seems so simple. So also included in the Slay the ACT are office hours. So in addition to the once a week that we meet for the lesson, we meet once a week for office hours. Office hours are going to be on Sundays. We cover the homework I assign weekly. Sometimes knowing why your answer is wrong is more important than knowing why the right answer is right. So I go through all of that. They can send questions in advance or ask questions on, and if they can't make it at that time, they ask me questions and I'll go over them. The office hours are recorded as well. Here's an email from a parent. I know Alexis updated you on her June score going up to a 32. So she went from a 25 to a 32 in her composite. Okay. And I know, and this was a while ago, so now I know that she had got a lot of money. I think she got like $80,000 in scholarships to go to school. So also included in the program is Google Classroom, is where I host everything. They get lifetime access. So at any time, if they take the test in the future, they can go back and review any of the videos, see all the homework that's been assigned, and all the reminders and accountability take place in Google Classroom, which many students are familiar with. Here's a note from a mother. Hi, Tina. I just wanted to drop you a note to thank you for working with Leanne. She loves the class and feels like she's learning so much. Thanks. Also included in the program are workbook and then a book of practice tests. So this book, the official ACT book, Highly, highly recommend. This is 5 full tests. So if you're not interested in the program, but you're looking for what to do for practice, go buy this book. Okay. So the 2020-2021 edition came out just a couple weeks ago, and it's working on retired tests, which makes a huge difference. So I would get that book. So all the stuff I just talked about, the weekly lessons, the office hours, the Google Classroom, the workbooks, is all, 1 minute. Ha, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. I'm missing some things. Okay, a proctored practice test and analysis. So you're gonna proctor one practice test. It's really hard for students to sit for 3.5 hours, but that's why it's so important for them to sit for 3.5 hours. They need to practice sitting there and focusing, okay? So we do one practice test, full practice test in the program, and you get like a detailed analysis of what's going on with it. Here's another student. I took the college prep class in school, and it gave me good strategies, but this is really boosting my confidence. After I come back from nationals next week, I'll come in for office hours. He is actually a swimmer. I think he's at Michigan State swimming now. And then last is that you get a video library of answers and explanations. So for every problem in this book, okay, I've gone through and put together answers and explanations for every problem that appears in there. It's a YouTube library of videos. Sometimes when you look at what ACT's explanation is, they might as well just said because I said so, right? Like what they wrote doesn't make sense. But I go through and explain every problem, so they get access to that. But I will also answer any question they have out of the book. It's just in case they wanted to go through some on their own. All right, so now that's everything. The lessons, the office hours, the classroom, the books, the proctored practice tests and analysis, and the video library. The total value of all that is $1,550. So if all this program did was provide your son or daughter with the structure and review of math and English that they need to know in order to do well on the test, would the one-time payment of $1,550 be worth it? If all this did was help your son or daughter get into the college of their dreams, would the one payment of $1,550 be worth it? If all this did was get your son or daughter a merit scholarship that's worth $40,000, would the one-time payment of $1,550 be worth it? So what's it worth? How much would a live online test prep course that provides the structure, accountability, and learning necessary to increase those ACT scores be worth? So I said it was worth $1,550. It is priced at $397. Okay, and I also have a payment program of 6 payments of $70. So either one works. $397 or the 6 payments of $70, and that's until class starts this Sunday. So Sunday, August 2nd is going to be our first. It's not a lesson on the 2nd. It's more like an introductory. I want to get to know the kids. I want them to get to know me. And then class will actually start next Wednesday. So in addition to everything that I already said, they have me on as an on-call tutor. They'll have my cell phone number, they'll have my email, Google Classroom, basically any kind of ACT emergency, I'm there to help. And then also included is I wrote a book called How to Slay the ACT, and it's available on Amazon, but I'm going to include a copy of my book with the materials that I send for the class. So you get all of that. The total value is $1,650 for $397. But wait, so there's a guarantee. I would rather you make a decision off of information that you have versus information that you don't. So what the guarantee is I want you to try the program for 2 weeks. They try the program for 2 weeks. By then they've had all of the strategies and content or a lot of the content, a lot of the strategies that they need to do well on the test. They've had that in 2 weeks. But if they feel like they're not getting a lot out of the program, it's not helping them, and they've participated in the calls and they've done the homework, I will gladly refund you all of your money back. Great question. So how much time is spent on homework per week? So how homework works is I understand everyone has busy schedules. I give 1 to 2 hours worth of homework a week. So basically, when we go through and talk about the English and reading sections, I'll give English and reading for homework. Okay, so it's a minimum of an hour and a half, like hour and a half. Okay, now that said, they will have so much material to practice with that if they want additional practice, it's there. But what I'm asking for is an hour and a half so that I can make sure that the strategies I'm going through are working. So basically why it's worth it, if you take what you might go out to dinner, $70 a week for the next 6 weeks, you can invest that in your son or daughter's future. So to get more information or to purchase the program, you can go to slaytheact.com. So again, that's slaytheact.com. I will check and see now if there are any other questions. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I don't know if I'll be able to see it this way. I don't see any questions in the live broadcast. So I don't see any questions there. Go to slaytheact.com. You can shoot me a message. My cell phone number is 630-576-0360 if you want to shoot me a text or give me a call and ask any questions. It's like I said, our first meeting to get to know each other is on Sunday. We start next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. with the classes. And I personally just went through, it looks like my son that's a senior is he's really interested in Grand Valley State University in Michigan. And they are a test optional school, but they are still requiring test scores for scholarship. So I am right along with all the parents, and we'll be anxiously trying to get onto the ACT website on Monday to register for the September tests. There are 3 test dates in September, September 12th, September 13th, and September 19th are the 3 test dates that they're giving. And with this program, we'll be preparing for all 3 of those test dates. So like I said, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for joining. All right, go to slaytheact.com to find more details. If you come up with questions later on, please feel free to email me or shoot me a message on Facebook. Thank you. Oh, there's a question. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining. You guys have a wonderful evening. Bye.